Stream
Nice.
Check it out. We do have to ask this, and a lot of people, I've talked to people about this. You and I have talked about it at length. Every critic has told me how they don't believe in this guy. So let's answer the question. Guys in the comments, you can definitely answer it as well. Is Sam Howell the answer or the problem?
Ooh. Interesting. I want you to go first on this. This is your guy.
Okay. So honestly, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to go out and say it. I felt it. I think he's the answer. There was nothing that I found joy in yesterday. And it was a hard game to watch all the way through. But in my opinion, the reason why we even had a pulse was because of Sam. Now, late in the game, we saw the interceptions. Late in the game, we saw how some of these passes were thrown behind or thrown awry, or he's just not getting get sacked. But I get quarterback, and you win, he gets all the credit, and when you lose, he takes all the blame. But this guy is literally learning a new offense in his first full year under a new OC. He's kind of seeing the different pieces move, the owner group move in, different coaches and players move out. The guy that he came here after from North Carolina, his buddy, is not doing well. And I know how Sam is big on his teammates and hoping that these guys will, step their game up. And honestly, you look at the numbers, and I know you don't like this stat, but he's, top 3 in passing yards. We know it, and I understand that. Everybody talk about it's garbage yards. For me, if anybody has a question about Sam's play, I think you go to the Philly games. I think you go to the game against Seattle. You know what I mean? When he literally put the team on his back, and I understand we were 0-3 in those 3 games, but he was the reason why we stayed in games with 2 teams that are playoff caliber. One who's arguably the best team in the NFC, if not the NFL. So we know it can be done. We know he can get the job done, and he showed us that he can get the job done. But I can't overlook the fact that the guy is still a rookie. He hasn't played a full 17 games. He has not had the support. He's had receivers dropping the ball. We have not had an adequate running game. His own line, we don't need to go back into that. So in my opinion, he's not the problem. I think he is the answer. I think it's going to take 1 year where we can everything is set. It's the foundation is laid. We don't have pieces moving. We don't have guys that we don't know who this is and who, musical chairs on the O-line. Give him that, because what he's doing now is he's showing me that he's tough as nails. And that's me. I love him. I'm a North Carolina guy all day. But in my opinion, he's the answer, and he's something that we need to build around. What do you think, Will?
Okay. Is he the problem? Absolutely not. Is he the answer? Jury's still out. And I think jury's still out because of what's coming up in the draft. Sam Howell right now is showing that he's probably a top 20 to 25 quarterback in the league, the ability to get maybe up to the top 15. And for the Washington franchise, Redskins football team Commanders, we haven't had that since Brad Johnson in 99, and I will take that all day. Okay? Yeah. Faubert's right when he says Sam is both. I would take that all day, every day, just like I said, he's good enough, like Kirk Cousins was, that you could build around this guy. Sam Howell is good enough to build around. Absolutely. That is a yes. I do think his numbers this year need to be taken with a grain of salt. When you are throwing the ball 60 times a game,
that's true.
You're going to get more opportunities. When you're losing games and getting a chance to play quick game against a prevent defense and getting an extra 75 yards for that game, that's going to help your stats a little bit. But he has shown that he can play in this league, and that's what I've been most impressed with. My only jury's out on him is because basically, if we're looking at potentially drafting in the top 5, do we have the ability to get someone whose upside is greater than a top 15 quarterback in the league? Like if you look at someone like good comment, Jerry said, he would be as good as Purdy was in the 49ers, probably. I kind of compared Sam right now to like a Dak Prescott, but If you don't think Dak is good enough to win a championship for Dallas, then is that what we should be building our franchise around? What if in the draft what if Drake May slides and we're picking 4th and he's there? Are we going to say, nope, we got to go get that left tackle because we got another guy already in here? Or do you need to say, Drake May has better tools. The ceiling is higher for Bo Nix. Are we concerned about Sam's height? Are we concerned about his pocket presence? We're not concerned about does he have the arch strength. We're not concerned about his ability to run and his toughness. But if you have concerns about some of the other stuff, do you build your franchise around him? And I don't think we have an answer to that right now.
No.
But I think, and that's where I think these next 5 games are continuing to be. The only thing that's worth watching in these next 5 games is, does Sam continue to develop? Because next year's regime, the front office and the coaching staff has to determine what to do, because it would make a lot of sense if we are able to go in with Sam Howell as your quarterback next year, and your first pick is a stud left tackle to start rebuilding that offensive line, because fact, the offensive line is not good enough. And could he have another weapon out there? Sure. But I think if we shore up the offensive line, maybe some of the other weapons may develop more. I think we have learned that Brock Bowers does not need to come to Washington. Even though you and I keep getting hyped about the idea of drafting Brock Bowers, that would not help us. We need beef up front. And then after that, we need defensive line. We need to fix the defense and the issues that we're having. Yeah, the trenches need to be fixed right now. And that kind of should be where the team needs to start. So, yeah, is Sam Howell the problem? No. Is he our future long-term solution? I'm still not sure. But I'm leaning yes. I'm 65% yes right now. I'm not maybe 70%. But I think the door's open for me to say we also need to do our due diligence on these quarterbacks coming out.
Yeah. Now I'm 150%. No, sorry. No, I'm honestly about 85%. And the reason being is, hey, what's going on? Dane, he got in the comments saying, hey. But this comment right here, Sam Howell being on a rookie contract is scary for the rest of the NFC.
You go, and then I've got a thought process on that. So go, you share your thoughts.
So first and foremost, I want to reply to what you were saying.
Okay.
There is never a scenario where I'll turn down another North Carolina quarterback. So if Drake wants to come here and we can have them play, starter and backup, I'm good with that. Tar Heel Nation. But as far as with Sam is concerned, my biggest thing, and I go back to Jason Campbell. We had 7-8 years, 7-8 coordinators. My biggest thing is keeping him with the coordinator. Let's let them work together. You see about the Bradys and having McDaniels. You see about, some of these head coaches, EB when he was with Mahomes and all that. You see these coordinators working with their quarterback and helping to raise them and move them along. I feel like right now where his growth is, he's on an ascension. Now, I'm okay. This is where I want him to go, but he's more on an upward climb. But in my opinion, I honestly think that you have to start putting these pieces around him. What he's taught us this year, from what I've seen, is that you can throw everything at him. He's still tough. He's not going to waver. He's going to make mistakes. We've seen the errant throws. We've seen sometimes where he'll sit here and freeze and take a sack and things of that nature. But at the same time, you start looking at some of these things that he doesn't have, and you say, what if we do get that top tier line? What if we do get some guys in free agency and get a top tier tackle? What if we start to establish a run game because they can run behind this line, and all of a sudden that opens up for him. We talk about Drake May. In North Carolina, he has a guy by the name of Omarion Hampton. Guy has had over 200 yards in several games this year and over 150 in a lot of games. That running game, Drake May doesn't have the same numbers that he had last year. Now he also has a different OC. But that running game is taking pressure off of him. So now that defense has to come and kind of load the box, and all of a sudden you can get Drake out in the open field. So you got to give these guys pieces. And they're saying, look at Purdy in San Francisco. I absolutely agree. He has the O-line. He has our guy Trent Williams. He has a great running game, a great mind at head coach. I feel like we have a great mind. EB, he could be that. We have quarterback. We have pieces in Jahan and Terry, and Curtis Samuel. He showed himself out. I'm even down with our running back, Brian Robinson. But we've got to get those trenches set because if Sam can't stay upright, how can we truly judge how good or bad he is? Because he's taking a sack every 2 or 3 plays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you need Michael Vick back at quarterback to evade some of this, some of the pressure we've got. So, all right, so 2 things I got to talk about. It's going to be offensive coordinator continuity and then the contract. They're great questions. And I love what Andrew put in there about, like, at what point in the draft is Sam a better prospect than these guys? And that's where I think right now we don't know. And that's, I think it's going to – you can't answer that on November 24th. But come January, February, when the front office and the new coaching staff is in place, that's going to give you a chance to see what do they want. But that also brings me back to, if you're bringing in a new coach and he's an offensive-minded coach, does he want Sam Howell for 2 years? Or are you telling Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick, go pick which quarterback you want? You now have him for 5 years of control. Yeah. So that's the only part of this equation with Sam, because he's already played 2 years in the league, and because he was drafted in the 5th round, he only has a 4-year contract. Where now, so you only get him for a few more years before you have to pay him. So that, I think that could factor into what head coach is coming into, what do they want to bring in. But I mean, regardless, you're going to have either a rookie quarterback or Sam on a cheap contract, and that certainly does help. I will say this about bringing in another offense coordinator. And you are right to think about Jason Campbell, but I think that's when you saw the wrong coaches were brought in. Right. But look what just happened in Houston. Bobby Slowick came from San Francisco with D'Amico Ryans, and he finally got rid of the Ohio State quarterback curse. Are you telling me that he can't do that with Sam Howell if he did it with C.J. Stroud? Look at what is his name, Ben Johnson up in Detroit is doing with Jared Goff. I thought Jared Goff was terrible in L.A. I know he went to the Super Bowl.
You saw him yesterday. He didn't look great against a terrible Packers team.
But he has turned Goff around to be more than a serviceable player. What about Shane Steichen, who look what he did with Jalen Hurts, and then he went to Indy. And I thought that Andrew Richardson was the biggest bust in the world, and he looked competent when he first started playing. So that's what, like, you're correct in saying, do we need continuity keeping EB in place, or can we get an even brighter offensive mind who's modern day NFL to make life even easier for Sam? And to the point, I think the biggest consensus we can have is we got to get a better offensive line to give whoever is taking snaps next year. They need more time. It's not fair to either of them.
Right. And that's where it's hard for me and shout out to Andrew saying, like, would you want Sam or Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr.? And that's where it gets hard for me, because obviously I'm biased towards Sam. And Bo Nix, we've seen what a great year he's had. JJ as well, Michael Penix Jr. potentially this year as Heisman Trophy if he wins out. But in my opinion, it's great to put one of these guys in there, but it's like, to your point, if we have the same issues on O-line, what are we doing? Are we just hoping that they run and they could overcome these issues? And when you look at these 3 teams, look how good these offenses are. Oregon's offense is elite. Michigan, we've seen that hard-nosed running game. And, McCarthy doesn't have to do so much, but he's able to do enough. And he is legit. And Michael Penix Jr., that whole team, when Oregon played Washington, there was like 32 scouts that went to that game, watching the quarterbacks and watching all the different pieces on those teams. So when you bring these guys into Washington, and then you're like, all right, well, do they have these pieces? Are they going to have an O-line that they can sit there and learn and work with? Are they going to have this? And that's where it goes to the question that Dane asked, where should Washington invest in offensive pieces around Hal or a solid defense? I think we answered that earlier. Yeah, exactly. But the trenches. Yeah. I honestly think O-line, yes, but for years, people have looked at Washington, and our calling card has been that D-line. That D-line is one of the best front fours in the league. While they did not show that on the field, I do think that we do miss Montez and Chase, because we didn't get any pass rush against the Cowboys. And we really didn't get much pass rush against the Giants either with their O-line and how they've been playing musical chairs. So I think it is imperative to get that mainstay at tackle, get some help at guard, focus on that offense.
Yes.
Because what we do know is EB in I believe 3 games this year, we've gotten over 30 points. And then in like 4 or 5 games, we've gotten over 20 points, which is a lot better when you put it in context from last year, where we're averaging 17, 18 points a game.
Right.
If we can have that and get a little bit more time, our offense can get the job done. But we need to have that line to protect him so that he's not thinking, I got to throw it quick. I got to get it out of my hands. So, and just let him calm down,
Well, and I'll say that this is why I'm still kind of jury's out on do we make Sam our starter next year. One thing I haven't seen from him, but I thought we would, explosive plays. He's shown me that he's got the arm strength to throw the ball 20 yards downfield on a strike to get a first down.
Yeah. But
we're not scoring big touchdowns with him. And all year we haven't done that. And I think some of that is part of the offensive line issues and timing. But even in that final game of the season against Dallas, he took a 5-step drop and launched it to Terry for a 75-yard touchdown.
Right.
We haven't had any of that this year. So that's a little bit of my why. It's like I'm still like these next 5 games lose, but I'm looking to see what type of development are we seeing from Sam. Whereas like Michael Penix he might be the best deep ball thrower in college, the way he's able to drop that in there. And who knows, we've got a couple picks in the 2nd, 3rd round. Maybe we go bring in a Spencer Rattler and let them battle it out next year, Sean.
Only if we can bring in DJ Swearinger back or something. We need a 2-part.
Go ahead and shore up the offensive line. Get a defensive end in the 2nd round, and let's go bring in Spencer Rattler. Let's let them duke it out.
You know what? And look, if we draft Spencer Rattler, we need to go ahead and get your boy Leggett as well.
Yeah,
we need his, but as good as he plays,
that would help.
Yo, we need it. And look, and shout out to Dabby watching. Thanks for watching, man. He said, "Do you think Scary Terry or John Allen wants to trade or wants out?"
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, honestly, okay, I'll say this, and this is a little bit goes back to, should Sam have the same offense coordinator? I think everything is on the table this offseason.
Yes.
I love Terry. I love John Allen. I would get those jerseys. But we have to move forward. And for the sake of the fact that they haven't had winning seasons since they joined us as Redskins, do they deserve to go somewhere else? But also, if it means we're going to get pieces back in the same way Montez brought us back something and chased it, then we need to go ahead and do it. We need a complete reset. You're bringing a new front office. You're bringing a new coaching staff. You need to give them 4 or 5 years. And if that means you gut the system, then you gut everything to start over.
Absolutely. So, look, hey, a lot of this is kind of difficult to ask because, to your point, we really just don't know. They can honestly gut every, and then all of a sudden, now we're asking all these different questions. What direction we go? Who is coming in? What is their mindset like? What do they want? It's honestly, it's one of those situations, and we've been here. We've been here each of the last 2 years. Where around this time it's kind of like, okay, well, yep, time to hang it up for the season because we're kind of done. And we start getting to the point where we're looking at the offseason, and now it's kind of like I've kind of got to the point where, we're off-season Super Bowl champs. I mean, we know how we do in the offseason.
Right.
So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited about that time of the year.
But the problem is with this stupid NFL schedule. The thing I always say is give me a December to remember, something to be hopeful for. We still have 5 flipping games because the season goes into January because they have 17 weeks of this crap, 18 weeks of the seasons. It's awful. Like the offseason is still a long ways away, and it's awful. So I think it's our topic coming up, so I won't share more about what comes next.
Oh, yeah. No. And so, let's move on. And I mean, this is a question that we have to ask. And before we ask it, I'm going to show you where Washington fans are. I did go on after the Giants game with some of the guys, and Kat thought she could make jokes. So let's just see what happened. Let's go ahead and do it. FedEx on blast.
Here.
Thank you, Kat.
And I brought you this. Maybe you guys need to start wearing paper bags.
Wow, because we just trashed today.
Love you.
Just
Now you don't have to worry worried about people recognizing you.
Wow. I'm sorry, Sean. That describes our loss today. That describes our loss.
Tell me she did not just do that.
Do you want me to take it out for you?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you've seen, this is where the show has gone.
I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
But it's an accurate depiction of where I'm at right now and how most fans kind of feel. If you look into some of them group chats and some of them little message boards and whatnot.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.